Good morning, everybody. I'm calling to order this meeting, regular board meeting of the Desert Water Agency on October 7th, 2025 at 8 a.m. For a little housekeeping before we get started, ask that folks here in the room please mute your electronic devices so they don't interrupt us during the course of the meeting. And for those that are participating virtually, please keep your microphones muted unless you're ready to speak during public comment. With that, members of the public may attend in person here in the room with us or via the information that's posted on today's agenda. For discussion and questions, I'll call on directors in the following roll call order. And Director Gracia, Director McKenna, Secretary Treasurer Bloomer, Vice President Bowman, and President Ortega. And all votes will be conducted via the roll call. And with that, we can move to item number 2, which is the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'm asking Vice President Bowman to lead us, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Vice President Bowman. Right, item 3 would be the roll call. Ms. Hoffman, please.
Director Gracia,
Present.
Director McKenna,
Present.
Secretary Treasurer Bloomer,
Present.
Vice President Bowman,
Here.
and President Ortega.
Present.
All present.
Thank you. Item 4 on today's agenda is public comment on items not listed on today's agenda. So now would be the time for members of the public to approach the board with items related to the work of the Desert Water Agency, but not listed on today's agenda. We're asking you to keep your comments to no more than 3 minutes. And as provided in the Brown Act, the board is prohibited from acting on items that are not shown on today's agenda. Ms. Hoffman, have we received any public comments prior to the meeting?
No comments have been received.
Okay, all right. Would you approach the dais and announce yourself, please?
Thank you, Chair Ortega. My name is Russell Betts. I'm a customer of the Desert Water Agency. Appreciate the job you guys do. For the benefit of the chair, I have 2 comments today. One is under general comments, and then one is specific to an agenda item, and I'll wait until that point in the agenda to address that one, but I just want to let you know. I want to raise a concern, but also an opportunity for this board. From the outside, it appears that Desert Water Agency Board has been too caught up in disputes and procedural debate. These disagreements are taking valuable time and attention away from the real challenges facing this agency. These disputes have even drawn in staff, pulling them away from their regular duties to do research for board conflicts. That wastes valuable staff time, and it puts them in an unfair position. Staff should not be dragged into board politics and asked to take sides. I know each of you care very deeply about this agency and the people it serves. That's why I urge you to set aside the distractions and refocus your time and energy where it truly counts. And that would be on ensuring reliable service, maintaining affordability, and especially in these very inflationary times, making sure you do all you can to keep rates down. Thank you.
Thank you. Unless there are any other public comments to be made for item number 4, we can move to item 5, which is public comments on items listed on today's agenda. Members of the public may also comment on items listed on the agenda that are not subject of a public hearing at this time. And again, we'd ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes. Sir?
Again, I'm Russell Betts. I'm a water customer living in Desert Hot Springs. This is to the item on the agenda that's about policy. And the policy as written allows a simple majority to discipline a fellow director, and that would include censure, sanctions, and removal from committees. That means a bare 3-2 vote could be used to punish a dissenting view, and that's not consistent with sound governance. Both the California Special Districts Association and the League of California Cities have addressed this issue directly. They recommend that any disciplinary action, such as censure or sanctions, require a 2/3 vote of the body, and that this process include clear due process for the director involved. Now, the reason for those safeguards is simple. They preserve the integrity of the board by ensuring discipline is used to uphold standards, not silence disagreement. Now, this document, as written and is before you today, is inconsistent with our system of government, which is built on protecting minority interest. That's exactly why the League of California Cities and the California Special Districts Association emphasize this principle. It's a fundamental part of good governance and should be reflected in your policy. So I urge this board to amend the policy to include a 2/3 vote requirement and clear due process provisions to ensure fairness, transparency, and to maintain public confidence. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public that would like to speak during item number 5? If not, we'll move to 6, which is our consent calendar. Items listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be acted upon by one motion of the board without discussion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a board member requests a specific item to be discussed and/or removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Are there any items on today's consent calendar that a director would like to have removed for further discussion?
None for me.
No? Seeing none, I'll look for a motion to accept the consent calendar.
I move item 6 as presented.
Thank you.
I'll second.
All right, I have a first from Director Gracia and a second from Secretary Treasurer Bloomer. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Director Gracia,
Aye.
Director McKenna,
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer Bloomer,
Aye.
Vice President Bowman,
Aye.
and President Ortega.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 7 are several action items ahead of us. The first is 7A, request board acceptance of the installation of AMI standalone towers project, and that's Mr. Mulhook. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, President Ortega, members of the board. I'm here today to request board acceptance of the installation of the AMI standalone towers project. The installation of the AMI standalone towers project is part of the larger AMI fixed network project. The towers project included the purchase and construction of 13 standalone towers and concrete foundations at various agency sites. All work for the tower project has been completed, and there were no change orders for this project. Subsequent to board acceptance, a notice of completion will be filed, and thereafter, following the lien period, the agency will release retained funds in the amount of $15,480 to Canyon Springs Enterprises. The board awarded contract for the installation of AMI standalone towers project to Canyon Springs Enterprises at the March 18th, 2025 board meeting. The 24-25 capital improvement budget includes capital project 231025M00 for AMI fixed network implementation with a budget amount of $1.2 million. Of the budget for AMI implementation, $405,000 was designated for construction of standalone towers. The final total amount for Canyon Springs Enterprises contract is $309,600. Finance Director Slow has reviewed this report. And with that, staff recommends the board accept the installation of AMI standalone towers project in the amount of $309,600. And I'd be happy to take any questions you may have.
All right, thank you. Director Gracia, do you have questions?
Just a curiosity, on these locations, about 2 weeks ago, I passed by the well site on Indian. I thought I saw a new tower, but this is not telling me that that's what I'm seeing. That's the one on North Indian Canyon, just as you begin to go deep across the wash. There's a well site on the west side of the road. Are you familiar with that? I don't see a red dot there, and I thought for sure I saw a new antenna structure.
Yes, sir. So there are a few sites that have existing towers that we will be utilizing to install some of the AMI collecting devices. But that tower was installed years ago.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it was already existing. It wasn't installed as part of this project.
Just concerned that I never noticed it before, and then all of a sudden there it was. And I thought about that that would be the exact answer that I would get. So anyway, that's it.
Okay. Director McKenna?
Yes, I noticed some new towers on Ramon and Vistacino. So what's the next step and when will that happen?
The next step is to place the collectors and begin programming them to pull the data from the meters, but I believe Esther might have some more details on the schedule.
Yes, so the next step, Ryan is correct. The next step is to install the collectors and repeaters, but first those have to be programmed, and those are being shipped to our vendor to be able to have that to happen. We are undergoing some other changes within the vendors that have been assisting us. So we are still working on determining the full impact of timeline of what that looks like, and we'll be providing a substantial update to the Technology Transformation Committee at our next committee meeting.
Thanks.
All right. Secretary Treasurer Bloomer
No questions.
and Vice President Bowman?
I
This
have
is a
one-
wonderful project, and I'm happy to see the progress of it all.
Great. All right. Excuse me, sir?
I had one more. I know you guys planned this out right, and your contractor knows what they're doing, but it looks to me like they might, I guess these signals, if they are in the proper range, you're well covered with that towers. But it looks to me like the way these are spaced out, that maybe there would have been one in Las Palmas based on all the other locations, as I see it. But I'm guessing that Las Palmas will be picked up by any of the three around it. Is that the idea?
So there was a study done to determine kind of the best spacing of each of these based on the radius of collecting
Right.
ability. But we also left a few fill-in possibilities. So if we get these, the first phase, as we call it, up and running, and we determine that, hey,
Okay.
we have a little trouble in this spot, then we are already prepared to
Not to-
possibly install more if we need to.
So-
We just didn't want to install more than we had to until
Right.
we knew we had to.
That's the only weak spot I see, but that's just a guess.
And just to restate what Ryan had indicated earlier, is this is not the entirety of all of the locations. This is what was in the contractor installed, but does not represent the placement of all the collectors and repeaters
Okay.
that will be installed, because again, we are using some existing infrastructure
All right.
that may be in those gaps that you're seeing in this map. This map is not representative. The maps we've been showing the Technology Transformation Committee are representative of the entire coverage area.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right, so you're up again for item 7B, which is, oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Moving right along. All right, so,
I would like to move 7A as requested.
okay,
I'll second.
all right. I have a first from Vice President Bowman and a second from Secretary Treasurer Bloomer. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Director Gracia,
Aye.
Director McKenna,
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer Bloomer,
Aye.
Vice President Bowman,
Aye.
and President Ortega.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. 7B, request acceptance of 2024 winter replacement pipelines project.
Hello again, Board. I'm here to request acceptance of the 2024 Winter Replacement Pipelines Project. All contract work performed by Borden Excavating, Inc. for the 2024 Winter Replacement Pipeline Project has been completed. Below, you'll see the original contract amount, 2 change orders, and then the final contract amount. Contract change order number 1 added approximately 1,400 lineal feet of replacement pipelines on Cali Rolfe and East Paseo El Mirador. Contract change order number 2 had an increase of approximately $40,000, less than 1% of the total project, as a result of extra work related to unmarked utilities, large amounts of rock in one location, and additional concrete repairs due to backflow installation. Subsequent to board acceptance, a notice of completion will be filed. Thereafter, following the lien period, the agency will release retained funds in the amount of $238,671.34 to Board of Excavating, Inc. On September 17th of 2024, the board authorized award of the contract for constructing the 2024 winter replacement pipeline project to Board of Excavating, Inc. On June 17th, 2025, the board authorized general manager to execute change order number 1 to the 2024 winter replacement pipelines project. The final contract amount of $4,773,426.82 is well within the budget of $5,641,000 for the capital project. Finance Director Slow has reviewed this report. And with that, staff recommends the board accept the 2024 winter replacement pipelines project an amount of $4,773,426.82. And I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Director Gracia, do you have any questions?
Are you finding the bids on these projects coming in lower? I see you're well within the budget. I wondered if that's because you're getting information that says these prices that we've seen escalating are now maybe dropping back. Or can you comment on that at all?
Yeah, so I think some of that is we are getting good price on that. We were projecting out a little further due to all the material delays and the price increases directly after COVID. But some of that is this budget was augmented based on savings from previous projects. So
I see.
yeah, so we did take that a little bit extra and do that first change order, add some additional piping. We didn't want to get too overzealous on that. We'd rather be under the budget than over. So
The area that is on the screen right now, is that that's just one area that will be covered within this? Is that right?
that's one area of the project that is completed, correct?
Oh, okay, this is completed, all right. All right, thank you.
All right, Director McKenna.
Happy to see these progressing. Thanks.
Mhm. Secretary Treasurer Bloomer.
No questions, thank you.
And Vice President Bowman.
None from me.
And none from me. So with that, I'll look for a motion to accept staff's recommendation.
Item 7B for approval.
All right.
I'll second.
All right, I have a first from Director Gracia and a second from Secretary Treasurer Bloomer. May we have the roll call vote, please?
Director Gracia,
Yes.
Director McKenna,
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer Bloomer,
Aye.
Vice President Bowman,
Aye.
and President Ortega.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you. Next item, 7C, request adoption of Board of Directors Conduct Accountability Policy. And that would be our General Manager. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. As you recall, at the September 16th, 2025 board meeting, the board discussed board conduct and possible actions. As a result of that discussion, the board expressed a desire for staff to develop a policy and procedure to enhance the provisions that were already within the Board of Directors handbook in order to provide accountability for board director conduct. Agency staff has prepared a Board of Directors conduct accountability policy to provide clear direction regarding potential actions the board may take to address board member behavior, action, and or violation of conduct of agency policies. At the last executive committee meeting on October 2nd, this policy was presented to the executive committee and was recommended to be brought to the full board for consideration of approval. I would like to go over a few high-level highlights within the policy. This conduct accountability policy really does just formalize the agency's minimum requirements of behavior expected by its elected and appointed officials of the agency and is intended to enhance the standards that were outlined in the board handbook. So this is really meant to be nothing new as far as the conduct that's required, as it just restates the requirements that are within the board handbook, but more just expands on the procedural if the board would like to take action. It establishes specific accountability measures and procedures for the board to address any board member behavior, action, and/or violation of agency policies. And some of the actions that are available are reprimand, censure, and sanction. Reprimand is the least severe form of action for a violation and is issued by a majority vote of the board, and it is not considered a board censure, and no sanctions may come with it. Censure is more of a formal expression of disapproval issued by the board to one of its members for misconduct or violation of the principles outlined in this policy and in the board handbook. And at the board's discretion, if censure is approved or passed, then the board may also address accompanying sanctions if appropriate. And the sanctions really are the penalties that may be imposed in conjunction with formal censure at the discretion of the board, and we do have some listed in there, but it is not intended to be a comprehensive listing. But I would like to note that no board member will be reprimanded, sanctioned, or censured under this policy for the exercise of their First Amendment rights. So that is something that is also stated within the policy. With regards to the procedure, the policy provides the actions to both initiate a reprimand, a censure, and a sanction. So it provides the details how to go about it, whether it be just a request to put it on a future agenda during director's comments and requests. That's for a reprimand, the least formal form of enforcement. But then also when we get to the censure, it's more of a written request with documentation requested and provided as to why it violates. And so that procedure is outlined within the policy. And also, if censure is approved by a majority of the board, then sanctions may be considered. It also provides for reversal. So if a disciplined board member takes the necessary corrective actions to correct whatever action may have taken place, then the board may proceed with reversal of that action under this policy, and it provides the method and means in which to do so. Now, this policy, I would like to state, is inconsistent with our Board of Directors handbook. The Board of Directors handbook indicates that an action of censure must be accompanied by an investigation. This does vary from that slightly. It does allow, at the discretion of the board, to create an advisory committee, an ad hoc advisory committee, to do that investigation. However, in some instances that may not be warranted, and we would like to provide that flexibility as the circumstance requires. Maybe it was one single event and that's all the documentation that's necessary is in the original written request to be considered by the board. So it is inconsistent. So there is a section within this policy, the very last one, that indicates where it is inconsistent with the board handbook. This policy shall take precedence until at such time that we make updates to the board policy. If the board handbook, if this policy is adopted, then we can make those revisions to the board handbook to make sure that they are both in alignment with each other and not saying separate things causing confusion. So with that, I would like to provide staff's recommendation is to, in order to provide clear direction regarding potential actions the board may take to address board member behavior, action, and or violation of agency policies, staff recommends the Board of Directors approve the Board of Directors Conduct Accountability Policy. And I'd be happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you. Director Gracia?
I was interested in hearing the comments from the speaker earlier. I had no idea that that will be in conflict with the Association of Special Districts with the passage of this. Also highlighting another conflict that this raises, and that is that the Brown Act doesn't allow for members to communicate more than 2 directly, but it takes 3 members at Desert Water Agency to put an item on the agenda. So essentially, you've boxed us into committing a crime to advocate among our fellow board members the addition of an agenda item. That is wholly offensive to the people I represent, to me, and to everybody who has any business with this district. And so before we go any further, I would like to ask that this be re-agendized with the ordinance that created that conflict, so that that could be discussed and perhaps adjusted. Because the way it is very problematic.
May I make a clarification? So the way that it's written is that the one board member would communicate with the board president unless the board president is the offending party. And then it becomes the vice president. So, for example, if Director McKenna had observed something and he wanted to take an action, had made something addressed, then he would address it with Director Ortega. And Director Ortega would request that it be placed on the executive committee. The executive committee is a public meeting. It is an agendized public meeting. So that the discussion is happening in the public setting. And then after the outcome of that meeting, it would be then placed on the agenda here. So it happens in the same manner that every other item gets onto our agenda, is that we discuss the agenda in an open, public, agendized meeting.
The reality continues to exist that a director does not have the authority that the president has, always been that way. But now you're giving executive authority to the vice president if he doesn't agree with the president. And you're still locking out the rest of the board by not allowing them to advocate in a way that doesn't violate the law to put such an item on the agenda. So I find it offensive, and quite frankly, will repeat my request that this be re-agendized with that on the allowed, so that we can be allowed to discuss and make changes to that rule that forces this
I
problem.
think General Counsel might have something to add to this.
Thank you, Director Gracia. Thank you, Director Ortega. Director Gracia, I'm not aware of this ordinance you're referring to that it takes a majority of the board to place something on the agenda. But the way that this policy is written, right, and you can look here in Section 4A, it's on page 4 of this agenda item, that the board president has the unilateral authority to place this on the agenda. But if the board president does not want to, presumably if he or she is a subject of this, or if they just don't agree with it, any of you may submit a written request to have it placed on the agenda.
The board packet includes the information that I just shared in terms of takes three directors to place an item on the agenda.
Any item or just this?
Any item,
Any
anytime, ever. And
Okay.
to me, that's a problem.
So
You're
are you
forcing
saying-
us to commit felonies, perhaps, sir, misdemeanors, to be able to advocate
Well,
within.
I don't necessarily agree with that interpretation of the Brown Act, but I do think if you'd like us to address an inconsistency, at least in our governing documents with this policy, as it relates to that ordinance, I think that's certainly something that we can talk about. And maybe that's something that me and Esther can work on after this meeting, if that's the wish of the board. you know, in terms of a Brown Act violation, I don't really see how that would happen unless you did something outside of this, outside of a meeting.
You force a Brown Act violation just by creating that policy, that rule or law. I don't know if this is a rule
This
or
one
a
that
law.
we're talking about today, or the one that you're holding in your hand?
This is the board packet. This
That's the
requires
handbook.
3 votes
Okay.
to place an item on the agenda. And the law doesn't allow for 3 directors to communicate directly on a subject. We have a closed session item on that for later today. So these inequities need to be straightened out so that everybody has the equal playing field, everybody understands the rules, and nobody is pinched because they didn't quite get that, well, suddenly it's against the law to share a newspaper article from 25 years ago. Okay.
So,
When clearly that's not the
yeah.
case.
well, I think that, as Esther highlighted at the very end, right, in subsection E of section 6 of this policy, is that we're going to address the inconsistencies between this policy and the board handbook to the extent that any exist. And Esther's already highlighted one, maybe possibly you're highlighting another. If it's the pleasure of the board, we could still consider the policy with addressing those sort of changes, or we could bring it back at a later time with some of those issues ironed
Can
out.
we repeal the 3-vote rule by passing this policy and entering it into the policy as an action today?
I don't think that I mean, I think that would have to be a board direction, you know, if that's what we wanted to do. But yeah, I mean, I guess we can talk about it.
Yeah, as with regards to the 2/3 vote versus a majority vote, Desert Water Agency I'm not sure if it's in our bylaws or if it's in, but it is in other ordinances where we say that it's a majority vote of the board. But to me, that does not mean that on specific actions, you can't specify and put in this policy that it's not going to be a majority vote. We could put it as a 2/3, which in our case here, with being 5 board members, would be a 4-1. So, I mean, that I see as a possibility. Of course, we'll need to discuss with legal counsel on that as well to validate my thoughts, to make sure that they are consistent. But I personally see that that is a possible revision to this policy as written. Additionally, I would like to point out that this policy is not the creation of staff. This policy was essentially one that was taken from other entities who have similar policies, and it was changed and modified to fit the specific circumstances of DWA. So in light of the comments that were made by members of the public today, as well as this is an opportunity that we are presenting something forth that we believe is consistent with the direction that was provided by the board, so that the board has the tools available to them to be able to self-govern. This is not intended to be a staff-driven initiative, but rather us being responsive to the board to provide the outline and clarity that was requested.
Thank you. Director McKenna?
I think the only thing worse than this policy is having no policy. And that's the situation we've been in, and I think that doesn't help us. I agree with Mr. Betts' comment that a 2/3 vote is probably better. I'd like an opportunity to make a motion to that effect later when the others have spoken. It's a completely separate issue on agenda items that I don't like. It happened before I became on the board. This board adopted Rosenberg's Rules of Procedure in lieu of Roberts. Rosenberg is the entity that requires a 2/3 vote to get something on the agenda. You can get something on the agenda by having 3 people at this meeting say, I want it on the agenda. The alternative route is the executive committee decides what goes on the agenda, and there's only 2 people on that. I don't like the fact that the executive committee controls the agenda, but that is how it is. and that flows from Rosenberg's rules, and it really has nothing to do with this policy. On this policy, yeah, I think we need one. I'm very, very cognizant of the fact that the First Amendment applies regardless of what we do here. The First Amendment, though, is not an absolute right of free speech. Oliver Wendell Holmes said, your right to swing your fist ends where my nose begins. And so there are things that we individually could say out in the public arena that are within our First Amendment rights, but they are detrimental to this agency. I think that's the area we have to deal with. Are you doing something detrimental to the agency when you make a public comment, which you're otherwise entitled to do, but conflicts with what we are trying to do here? So we do need a policy. I like the idea that we 2/3 vote. That's the only change I would make in this. Thanks.
Thank you. Secretary Treasurer Bloomer.
I agree with Director McKenna. We definitely need a policy or a mechanism to address situations as they come up. And if it's the pleasure of the board to add the 2/3 vote, I'm in favor of that also.
Okay. And Vice President Bowman.
I do agree with the 2/3 concept. And just a little point of my observation and clarification is that when it takes a vote of 3 to get something on the agenda, that vote of 3 is typically done right here at the dais. It's not done outside of the dais. In the 3 years now that we've been on the board, we've done that a number of times. We've had a motion raised, and then all of a sudden, it fell flat, or a motion raised, and we got 3 votes to do something. So that, to me, eliminates that challenge of potentially a Brown Act violation. Nobody wants to do that at all. And so, but it's done right here in the eyes of the public, conducting the public's business.
Thank you. I don't think I have anything else to add to this discussion at the moment, so I will look for a motion.
I have one more comment. I appreciate clarification that this came from Western Water, and this is a document that they put in place to smear a fellow board member who was planning to run for the County Board of Supervisors. As a result of those smears, she was not elected, and they elected an avowed communist instead of a nice young
All right.
Hispanic woman.
I think
Well, I think
that's
it's
enough, sir.
important
Sir,
that everybody
this is
realize
not relevant.
these things
This is not relevant to our
never
business.
work out to the benefit of the people that
Director
believe it
Gracia,
will.
Director Gracia, you've had your moment. You've had more than your moment. I'll look for a motion.
I move for approval.
Okay, I have a first from Director Gracia.
Do you want to adjust your motion with adding the 2/3?
I thought that was that's right. If I make the motion, I have to add that.
You have to add the
Two-thirds majority to censor, and what was the other?
I think that was it. Just the
Reprimand,
Reprimand.
censure, and
Yeah,
sanction.
any
that
action under the
is-
policy.
Any action under the policy.
It's like deja vu all over again at Mission Springs when
Okay,
Mr.
is that your
Well,
motion?
it's you that's going to experience the downfall of this,
I
not
don't-
Mr. Bauer.
Sir,
All right.
please
Well, I just
clarify your
think
motion
everybody
and let's
needs to
move
be-
forward. We
Everybody
need to
needs
move forward.
understand.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I'm looking for a second.
I'll second.
All right. I have a first from Director Gracia and a second from Secretary Treasurer Bloomer. May we have the roll call vote, please?
Director Gracia,
Aye.
Director McKenna,
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer Bloomer,
aye.
Vice President Bowman,
Aye.
and President Ortega.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Right. So we have some discussion items coming up. Let's start with 8A, which is Employee Safety Program Presentation, and that would be our General Manager again. Thank you.
Thank you,
Oh,
Mr.
actually, I guess we
Oh.
actually have somebody else.
I'm going to start us off.
Oh, okay. All right.
You can come on up, though, Dylan. So back on August 19th, 2025, in the board meeting, Director Gracia had requested a report detailing the agency's safety initiatives. At that time, he had emphasized the agency's longstanding commitment to safety and expressed the importance of maintaining that as we move forward. And I would like to note that safety is a core value of Desert Water Agency. We just recently went through the strategic planning process where this board has already adopted those values, and one of them is safety. And so management, we remain committed to the safety of our staff and the people that we serve, and this commitment is reflected in our efforts to provide targeted safety training programs, promote continuous improvement and investment in equipment and technology, and enhance workplace safety. We have Dylan Snyder here today. He is our safety director, and I just want to give a little intro to him. He has been with us for about the past year and has been an excellent addition to our team. And in his short tenure, he has already matured our employee safety program significantly. To highlight his accomplishments, he has a Bachelor of Science in Occupational Safety and Health. He is a graduate of the Safety Practitioner Program with the Board of Certified Safety Professionals. He is an EMT. He has a certified first aid instructor. He is a certified defensive driving instructor. He has an advanced safety certificate from the National Safety Council, as well as he is a certified ergonomics assessment specialist. So that is quite a resume that we have here. And it is evidence to the level of knowledge that we have in-house to head up our safety program. And with that, I will pass it off to Dylan to provide a presentation outlining our recent accomplishments, upcoming funded safety initiatives, and the goal of these efforts is to continue to develop and reinforce the agency's safety culture and keep safety a top priority. So take it away, Dylan.
Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, President Ortega and members of the board. Again, I'm Dylan Schneider, your safety and training specialist. I'm honored to provide an update of our team's safety program. Thank you. Again, as Esther mentioned, safety is a core value of Desert Water Agency. Thank you. Very well. That's better. All right. Safety is a core value of Desert Water Agency, and we are committed to the safety of the employees in the community that we serve. The agenda for this presentation includes an update of safety meetings and trainings, safety program initiatives, safety technology, safety equipment, emergency preparedness, risk management, and safety goals. Every month, our team gathers for a safety meeting. So far this year, in our monthly safety meetings, we have covered ergonomics, electrical safety awareness and electrical burn first aid, emergency response plans, heat illness prevention, and on heat illness prevention, I'd like to mention also that through the summer, we did not have any heat illness or injury, fire prevention and fire extinguisher training, workplace violence prevention, hazard communication standard, respiratory protection awareness, de-escalation of confrontational and potentially violent situations, and most recently, hazard identification. Separate from our monthly safety meetings, we have specialized training that in this year have included confined space entry and rescue, hazardous waste operations, electrical safety program certifications, forklift operator certifications, mobile elevated working platform certifications, first aid CPR AED certification, FEMA disaster management for water utilities, ergonomic assessment specialist certification, office ergonomics, and in addition, this month we have field ergonomics training planned as well. For 2025, there were two primary safety program initiatives, which first was the musculoskeletal disorder prevention program, consisting of ergonomic evaluations for those who have a workstation, providing training to all team members on ergonomics, safe lifting, and stretching, and in addition, implementing that stretching routine for field employees. Second, there was the Safe Driver Program, which consisted of implementing annual defensive driver training from the National Safety Council curriculum, and as well as implementing a smart fleet camera system to provide proactive safety data. Safety technologies implemented include lone worker devices, which allow for prompt notification that a team member who is working alone is in trouble and initiate their emergency response to their location. Digital radio systems allow greater range of communication and clearer voice transmission. Digital safety data sheets allow for ease of access to safety data from any Desert Water Agency issued device or by scanning a QR code in the vicinity of the chemical storage location. Safety equipment implemented is lightweight 40 cal arc flash armor, allows for more maneuverability and less heat retention while working, and provided to more technicians. Guardrails for the sewer cleaning crew, providing additional fall protection for the team. Eye wash and shower station in Warehouse 2, adding additional first aid care closer to the work area. And we're also planning Type 2 head protection, which provides additional protection to the sides of the heads, chin strap, and less heat retention by vents in the top of the helmet. Emergency preparedness. We've implemented continuous auditing of infrastructure security, as well as annual audits and refresher training of the emergency response plans. And we're also planning an continuous update of the emergency response plan, drilling scenarios with tabletop walkthroughs, and coordinating our emergency response plans with mutual agencies as well. For risk management, we've implemented quarterly safety committee meetings and inspections, site safety visits, job hazard analysis to continuously review our standard operating procedure, and training. We're also planning to implement a near-miss reporting program to have better identification for leading indicators. Safety goals. By December 31, 2025, we hope to strengthen the safety culture by achieving 100% team member participation in safety meetings, supported by a safety recognition program and departmental safety champions. Next, by December 31, 2026, reducing the number of lost time illness and injury incidents by 25% compared to 2025 by implementing targeted safety training, regular hazard assessment, near-miss reporting, and standard operating procedures. Thank you, members of the board. Do you have any questions?
Well, thank you. That was very thorough and covered a lot of items, so I'm sure we will have some questions. We'll start with Director Gracia.
Let's go back to the first, you referred to Monday safety meetings? Did I?
Monthly safety.
Monthly,
Yes,
okay, okay. I thought you did, I was curious how you did that every Monday if you took off all morning until lunch and had a meeting. How do you do that? Once a month, not every Monday.
Great question, sir. Typically on the last Thursday of every month, we hold as many as can attend in person should attend in person in our break room.
Okay.
We have a planned safety topic for that meeting.
And so every month you have a different subject that you cover?
That's correct.
Mhm.
And for those who are not able to attend in person, there is now going to be a recorded version available to help achieve that 100% participation.
Well, in my experience, it's repetition. It's just got to keep talking every day. I was driving down when they were out working on in front of where they're building the new college, and they were just finishing up. It looked like they were just getting ready to leave for the last. I think they were out there for weeks, and they were one guy was working on a fire hydrant, I think, and I thought as I saw him, you know, he was kind of engrossed in what he was up to, and I thought all it takes is one. You know, and he turns around and steps into traffic, even with the cones up, about, you know, so it's as simple as, you know, look both ways before you step into the street. And to me, that just seems like a very vulnerable place for, and then you have the cave-ins that are all, you know, I see those guys working. Sometimes they're a little slippery on the you know, building the, safety measures and what's that called? The shoring, yeah. There was a time, I don't remember, I understand that law has changed now where public agencies weren't required to do shoring, which just is beyond me how they were able to. And that now I guess that's been reenacted, or I've been told that that's the case. So anyway, these are the things that I think of. And there's probably 1,000 other things that you guys have to deal with electrical. You know, I was in the pump business for a while, so I know a little bit about that stuff. But yeah, the repetition to me is important. So
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I remember the first words I learned to read were "safety first" on the side of a pencil. My father used to bring them home from work. He built an oil refinery, and they would have seemed like weekly explosions, you know, and I thought, you know, I wondered if we have pencils that say that on them, and you know, you leave it in our case, it was on the telephone they used to have on the wall. And when I was a baby in you know, eating my Jell-O, and I saw that pencil up there, and I finally got big enough to where I could knock that pencil off the top of the telephone, and I carried it around for months. And it said "safety first." Those were the first words I learned to read. So it was something that always stayed with me. And fortunately, I still have all my fingers, survived an electrocution. So I know how dangerous things can be out there. You just have to try not to ever lose track while you're out there working to be able to go home every night without something missing. So that's it.
All right, thank you. Director McKenna.
Oh, I so wish I could sit here and say you forgot such and such. Yeah, but I can't. That's a very comprehensive document. I love it. I'm particularly pleased to see near-miss reporting program. In my experience, so many things, some go wrong, and it doesn't get noticed. It doesn't get reported to management. And the next time it goes wrong, there's a serious accident. So I think that's really vital. I'm glad to see that's in there. But congratulations on a great piece of work. Thanks.
I agree. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Secretary Treasurer Bloomer.
Thank you very much for the report and presentation, and you've been very busy since you started a year ago. So
Yeah.
congratulations. Hope they're not working you too hard.
Thank you, Director.
And Vice President Bowman.
A well-done presentation, crisp, to the point, and thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And I think I would like to see maybe we do this every year. I'm looking at these goals that you have on your safety goals. So I'd like to know how we've done against those goals. So if we could make this a tradition in the future, that would be great. And thank you so much for being here today and for all the great work you're doing.
Thank
We
you all.
appreciate it. Thank you. All right. So we can move to 8B, which is changing Board of Directors meeting start time.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Desert Water Agency's regular bi-monthly board meetings are currently held at 8 a.m. on the first and third Tuesday of each month. During public comment and at the last board meeting, member of the public urged the agency to consider moving the start time of the meeting back to a time where the public can attend. Mr. Betts, the member of the public who made this indication, cited a 2013 grand jury report which states Water and Sanitation District's Board of Directors shall conduct board meetings after 6 p.m. to ensure maximum participation by ratepayers and generate maximum public attendance. In response to that grand jury report back in 2013, on August 20th, 2013, the agency provided a response to that grand jury report. The response included DWA has conducted evening meetings and even Saturday meetings at times believed to be more convenient to ratepayers as recently as 2010. The purpose of these meetings was to encourage greater attendance and input on proposed rate adjustments. However, there was no significant difference in the attendance at those meetings. Giving consideration to the grand jury report, it does clearly state that we should be holding a 6 p.m. meetings. However, since that time in 2013, conditions have materially changed. Board meetings are now virtually accessible for real-time participation via Zoom, so travel is not required. Additionally, those meetings are recorded and can be reviewed on demand afterwards and posted onto the agency's websites. And while that isn't real-time participation, it is a means to receive the information that is being discussed here at the board level. This is not the first time that the agency has addressed this in recent history. Back in 2023, the Board of Directors discussed changing the meeting time, and at that time, it was decided to keep it the same at 8 a.m., but also left the door open to reassess at a different time. And it was discussed on at a future date in 2024 on June 18th. Well, actually, this was an executive committee meeting. The executive committee discussed and considered a 9 o'clock start time, and that would create ease of commute for those that live north of the freeway and would like to attend, seeing that that is our service area as well. And the board considered that at the July 2nd board meeting, and it was again left at 8 a.m. So the recommendation here is that the Board of Directors discuss a start time that's appropriate to hold agency board meetings to adequately accommodate staff, public, and board members. Some additional items to note as far as considerations go. We do have an attachment of our staff report from January 17th, 2023, which includes a survey of other entities, of other water entities here in the region. And of the 16 water district survey, only 6 of them have start times of 5 p.m. or later. The remaining 10 have meeting times that are within the business day. Now, in the attached staff report, you'll notice that CVWD, it does indicate that they have a couple board meetings during the year that are after 6 p.m. However, at the time of this survey, original survey, they were doing that, but have since discontinued that practice. And we do have staff members that used to be in attendance of those CVWD board meetings, and they have indicated that there was no significant difference in the level of participation when they held evening meetings. Additionally, we would have complications as far as staff and staff participation. It would create limitations when we have recognition events and staff's ability to attend, whether it be either to extend their day in order to attend. When it's during the business day, it makes it very easy to rearrange their schedules in order to have attendance, whether it be for recognition or whether it be for presentation purposes. We also have staff members who are hourly staff members and not exempt that help to facilitate these meetings and therefore would create complications to move it to a time that is outside of business hours. Additionally, if we moved it to Tuesday evenings, for example, staff, I personally would not be able to attend on Tuesday evenings given my commitments to the state water contractors and involvement with the state water project meetings, as those are held on the generally on the first Tuesday, as well as the third Wednesday of the month, which I have to travel in the evenings and the afternoons on Tuesday in order to attend. Additionally, Mission Springs Water Districts has a Monday evening board meeting if we were potentially moved to Monday evenings, which then our board members and staff who attend would not be able to attend those any longer. So those are just some additional considerations of the conflicts. We have been at 8 a.m. for a long time on Tuesdays, and we feel that it does kind of fit in with all the other requirements and all of our other duties, and even as it coincides with other entities in their meetings in order to be able to participate. So just additional items that I'd like to bring to your attention, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you. Director Grasha.
I don't have any opinion on this. I think it should be later, but every time we argue about this, everybody ends up mad at me, so I'm just going to sit here and listen.
Okay. Director McKenna?
I'm not mad at you. But I really would like an hour later start on this meeting, because we are competing with road space with 9,997 other people, according to the mayor of Desert Hot Springs. We have an infrastructure problem. You know, the city up there has grown by 25%, and the road structure has grown by 0%. It's a challenge. And that's when the roads are open. It's a challenge. It's a major challenge when they're not open. So a little bit later would be great. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Secretary Treasurer Bloomer?
I want to keep the meeting at 8 a.m.
Okay. Vice President Bowman?
I think we arm wrestle now. I could go either way. I am sympathetic to moving the day along, starting at 8, even if it takes me 45. I've had an hour to get here from time to time. So I'm sort of, I could go either way. I would probably choose to stay at 8.
Okay. No, this is a discussion item. We're not voting on this. I guess are we giving staff direction? Is that really what we're doing here?
This is really to provide the opportunity for the board to discuss. Yes, it can be pulled and a motion can be made if the board desires, or asks that we look into it some more and bring it back another time. It really just is, do you have enough information to be able to have an intelligent and substantial discussion about it, to be able to either say we're not going to bring it because we're going to keep it at 8, or bring an item back or make a motion for a different time.
Well, I think I would just add one other thing as far as, you know, how changed the landscape is since 2013, and that is the economy and the way people work is quite different. In 2013, people weren't driving for Uber at 6 o'clock at night, or you know, they weren't working at home, or they were doing other kinds of jobs or they're doing jobs today that didn't exist necessarily in 2013. So I don't think that moving the meeting necessarily to 6 o'clock at night is going to, I mean, now there's another population of workers, for example, that are not going to be able to attend because they're working at a restaurant, or they're driving Uber, or whatever it is they might be doing. So, you know, I'm sympathetic to the request, but I don't know that changing it from where it is now to some other time is really going to benefit the public in any real way, nor the working of this board. So my inclination is to not do anything and leave it the way it is. So I don't know what we do next. Oh, I'm sorry. Director McKenna has a question or a comment or something.
I want to move this to an action item. I'd make a motion that we change the start time of the meeting to 9 a.m. I think this will be the third time I've done this, hoping it might succeed this time. Our meetings are much shorter. The public doesn't know this, but the executive closed sessions much, much shorter, since 2 major pieces of litigation have disappeared. So I think we'd still end considerably earlier than we normally do, even if we started at 9 a.m.
So your motion is?
The motion is to change the start time of our board meetings to 9 a.m. on the first and third Tuesday of every month.
Second.
All right, I have a first from Director McKenna and a second from Director Grasha. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Director Grasha?
Aye.
Director McKenna?
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer Bloomer?
No.
Vice President Bowman?
Aye.
President Ortega?
No.
Motion passes 3-2.
Okay.
Desert Hot Springs prevails.
I thought you also represented part of Palm Springs.
I do, but
Good.
that's far away from
Let's not forget that. Thank you. Right. So we can move to the Secretary Treasurer's report.
Thank you, President Ortega and members of the board. The completion of the August Secretary Treasurer's report has been delayed just due to the accounting department's focus on the year-end fiscal audit. However, we are required per Board Resolution 1342, establishing policy and guidelines for investment of agency funds, to provide the investment portfolio reporting and summaries by the 45 days after the month-end close. So our next board meeting would be on October 21st, which would be 51 days past the close of the month of August. So therefore, included in the board packet today is that investment portfolio reporting. So we can remain in compliance with that board resolution. The remaining portion or items of the Secretary Treasurer's report will be provided in the next board meeting on the 21st.
Okay. Are there any questions from Director Gracia, starting with you?
No, no questions.
McKenna?
None for me, thanks.
Okay. Secretary Treasurer Bloomer?
Nope.
All right. And Vice President Bowman?
None from me.
Nothing from me. So on to the next item, 10, which is the General Manager's Report.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. So for our general manager's report this week, was accepted into the Leadership Essentials for Water Industry program. And this is a program that's provided by our insurance, Aqua JPIA. That program began on October 1st, so just this last week. Aqua JPIA has recognized the growth and the need for leaders to expand and adapt their leadership approach to stay effective in today's workplace environment where there's been rapid and ongoing changes. And so this program, the Leadership Essentials for Water Industry, is a one-year program that's focused on providing expanded leadership skills specifically on self-leadership, leadership of the executive team, as well as strategic leadership. The program consists of over 80 hours of instructional time, and it's delivered in 4 two-day in-person sessions as well as monthly 2-hour sessions during the off months that we are not in person. And this last week, I had the pleasure of attending that first 2-day session and found the training to be very impactful and relevant. And we'll be looking to bring in the training to our supervisory staff at some point in the future. Moving on to Sites Reservoir. Sites Reservoir has received or really released $10.9 million in early Prop 1 funding. So this is not new funds, but this is from the California Water Commission awarded the Sites Reservoir project $10.9 of early funding from the WISIP program. So I believe it was at the last board meeting I had informed the board of the increase in funding received, bringing the total WISIP funding to $1.09 billion from the state, from that program. And this is what that was an inflationary adjustment. And so along with that, this advanced early funding is adjusted as well. So this early funding will support the permitting and environmental documentation efforts, advancing the project closer to construction. Moving on, we have the U.S. Department of State International Visitor Leadership Program, specifically regarding desert technologies research and development. So on September 22nd, we hosted 12 international visitors from the Department of State's program. And the visitors consisted of civil, mechanical, and technical engineers, researchers, and CEOs of clean renewable energy, safe water solutions, and solar power companies. And they are considered experts in their field. And they come from several different countries, which are listed there. Staff provided a presentation on the agency, including our governance structure, water sources, our importation efforts and replenishment efforts, and management practices. And the presentation set the stage for a constructive dialogue regarding the agency's water management and in arid climate and how the agency is adapting to the changing regulatory and climate conditions. So it was a great time to be able to interact, and it was a very dynamic conversation where we weren't there to talk at them, but rather we gave a short presentation and then we really just engaged and answered the questions and had great dialogue. As you may have heard, the federal government shut down. On October 1st, the federal government entered into a shutdown after Congress failed to reach an agreement on a continuing resolution. Now, they may reach a agreement at any point in time, and this information was written at the time, the information known at the time of writing, which was late last week. And the potential impacts to DWA specifically are delays in our receiving our funding for the Water Smart grant funds that we have been awarded. So this does not delay or stop our projects from moving forward, but does impact the timeline to receive that cost share support. We also at the time believed that there was going to be uncertainty around the impacts of our Washington, D.C. visit this next week. We do have staff that is going to hold some meetings with our delegation and other offices in D.C., along with our lobbyists that are in D.C. And since the writing of this report, we have found out that they have been deemed essential workers, and so it is not impacted, and we will be able to hold those meetings as scheduled. So thankfully, that is not impacting those planned efforts. We do have listed some other key impacts of the shutdown for general information, but we will continue to monitor the developments closely and provide updates as needed. Another item that it was not written in this report, but I wanted to bring the good news to your attention is that the governor did sign SB 72, which is the California Water Plan. So Governor Newsom did recently sign SB 72, and that bill updates the California Water Plan, which serves as a state strategic plan for managing California's water portfolio and ensuring long-term water reliability. The bill's aim really is to modernize the plan so it better reflects today's challenges, including climate change and evolving water demands. The governor in his signing message noted that the measure provides the certainty and accountability California needs to plan for a resilient water supply. He also highlighted that the next plan should recognize local planning efforts, including investments in vital water infrastructure, including the Delta Conveyance Project. And the reason why I bring this to you as a recent development is that, and because we did have an update in the consent calendar of the legislative efforts. The Desert Water Agency was actively supporting this measure, working alongside with our partners at Western Municipal Water District, and has been a multi-year effort to strengthen statewide water planning. And DWA will continue to stay engaged as the implementation moves forward. Moving on to system leaks. Over the past few weeks, it's been 3 weeks since our last meeting, and we experienced just 30 leaks. So that is, well, it's not great news, it's great news for us. And nothing really out of the ordinary there. These are all our bare unlined steel pipes. And I would like to pass it off to our Director of Public Affairs and Conservation to highlight a few of her meetings and activities over this past month.
Thank you, General Manager Sines. Good morning, President Ortega, members of the board. You'll see here a list of different meetings and events attended. Just want to highlight that this past month was the quarterly Aqua Federal Affairs meetings, which also comes with 3 subcommittee meetings. And so you'll see those highlighted there. So this takes a little bit of a different approach than like Aqua State Ledge Committee, where you're diving really into subtopics of the bills like drinking water and energy. And I lost my other one, but all of that to say we regrouped on 9/16, and we're closely monitoring that, and that really leads into next week's DC trip as well. Additionally, we have been working on the AMI customer portal RFP, with that to be hopefully released sometime this week. I believe we've all reported on the Chamber's All Valley Mayors and Tribal Luncheon event that was held earlier this month. As General Manager Sines mentioned, we did have the Department of State visitors and that international visit on 9/22. We're also planning on the landscaper workshop, which is happening next Tuesday. And so that's been front of mind. We also had our Public Affairs and Conservation Committee meeting this month. I did attend the LAFCO meeting last week, as well as the Special Districts of Riverside County quarterly luncheon meeting, where Assemblymember Gonzalez was the lunch speaker. And then outside of that, just ongoing state and federal advocacies. We have our biweekly meetings with our advocates, continuing to work on the website contract, the brand refresh, and the customer portal as mentioned. Thank you.
For my meetings and activities over the past 3 weeks, been engaged in the Metropolitan Exchange Agreement for the State Water Project, and also attended in person in Sacramento the Delta Conveyance State Water Contractors meetings, the Sites Project meetings, and also a new meeting that I was able to attend was the Delta Conveyance Project's General Manager meeting. And so this was all of the general managers of the participating entities or their representatives, along with the director of DWR. And at this point, it was, what do we do? What do we do next? Where do we go now, since we weren't unable to have the streamlining take place with the budget trailer bill? So really a constructive conversation at that level with the director of DWR. Also engaged with the State Water Contractor Protest Item Settlement Caucus. As mentioned before, we historically have had billing items that through independent auditing that the state water contractors have engaged on of our statement of charges as it pertains to the contract. There have been items and tolling agreements have come up to this board several times over the years where DWR was just not in a place yet or didn't have the technology in place to be able to address these inconsistencies or challenges or questions. But now they have been in a several-year endeavor to put in those technology systems to correct some of these issues. And so we are now beginning to get information out of that and beginning to discuss them. So we are continuing to engage in that settlement caucus and those efforts, which it's still going to be several months before we are able to come to this board, because we still have some independent auditing of the results that have to take place before we are going to be able to disseminate any information. So more to come on that, but we are now in a very active stage of that process, which it is great to see movement here when it's just been a long list for several years. And with that, just the normal kind of meetings. And then also, I'm reminded here by Assistant General Manager, one thing that is not on my list here is we did schedule and attend the first TAC meeting, and that the Technical Advisory Committee meeting that is contemplated within the settlement agreement with the Agua Caliente tribe. So the tribe was in attendance along with CVWD staff and DWA staff to really kick that off. So this was our first meeting to really set the stage for how are we operating. What does timing look like? How's coordination? How's communication going to happen? So it was a very productive time, and we had staff engaged with that. And so we will be continuing to meet with frequency with that TAC committee so that we are ready and able to meet the conditions that are set forth within that agreement. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Director Grasha, do you have any questions?
Great report, long, thorough, no questions.
All right. Director McKenna?
I have none, thank you.
All right.
No questions.
And Vice President Bowman?
I was excited to hear your last point and how wonderful it is that, we can roll together in this valley as a team. Thank you.
Great. I don't really have any questions. I do have a couple of comments. First of all, with regard to the USIA visit, I have a very dear friend from my graduate days in Washington, D.C., who worked for USIA. And when he saw the social media post about this recent visit, he got very excited because that was part of his job, was to make those kinds of visits happen. He now lives here in the Coachella Valley and is a customer of Desert Water. So that was kind of fun, brought that full circle, I guess. And with regard to SB 72, this is a comment that I've made before sitting here. I think what you made a comment, General Manager Sines, that triggered my thought on this, taking into account local resources. And I feel in a lot of ways that the Making Conservation a California Way of Life does not do that. I'm hoping that with the passage and signature of SB 72, that this will in fact change the dialogue a little bit so that an agency like this one that has been investing in maintaining the infrastructure of, and I'm sure, and by that I mean the aquifer, in conjunction with Coachella Valley Water District, will be somehow recognized for that work and that effort and not penalized, which is kind of how I feel where we are headed right now. We've invested a lot of taxpayer money in bringing imported water into this desert to maintain that aquifer. And it feels like a 42% reduction in overall production over the next 15 years does not recognize that effort. So I'm hoping that this will maybe change that conversation to some degree. So I'm pleased about that. And with that, we can move to directors' reports on meetings and events attended on behalf of the agency. So for those meetings that we've attended since our last board meeting that are compensable, if you could state the date and what it was. And I believe, Director Grasha, you might have a few weeks to catch up as well. So we'll let you start.
You're right. I'm not sure how far back I need to go, but I'm going to be safe and go to our meeting on the 19th. So it's I attended I don't think I reported on this, so this is why, if I'm doing it again, I apologize. Urban Water Institute from the 21st, or from the 20th through the 22nd. Then the
That was in August.
well, it's that was 3 meetings ago. I missed one meeting. Well, let's try. If you're gonna forgive me for maybe missing something, I'm fine with that. As long
Okay,
as you promise to forgive.
we'll forgive you.
So then we go to the 2nd. So I attended the Orange County Water Summit, and that was the 4th and the 5th of September. DWA IT training on the 8th, Coachella Valley Water District meeting on the 9th, Greater Coachella Valley Chamber of Commerce on the 10th, and another one on the 12th. And the 16th was the another Coachella Valley Chamber of Commerce meeting. And the 17th, the annual Business Expo and Taste of Palm Springs of the Palm Springs Chamber of Commerce. Let's see here. That was the 17th. Then the 23rd was the Coachella Valley Water District meeting. I recommend everybody watch that. Their public hearing was an hour long. It was very enlightening, and anybody that misses it will be doing a disservice to the public they represent. On the 24th, the Public Affairs and Conservation Committee meeting for Desert Water Agency, and October 2nd, the Desert Valley Business Association legislative meeting. And the Riverside County Water Task Force on the third extraordinary meeting that was put on by Western Water. And then that brings us to today. So I apologize for that being a little choppy, but
Okay, thank you. Director McKenna.
Since the last meeting, I had an Energy Sustainability Committee meeting here on the 23rd of September. October 3rd, I also zoomed into that Riverside County Task Force. I find that was quite interesting. Didn't learn anything new, but at least I felt up to date afterwards. And just those two. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Secretary Treasurer Bloomer.
September 17th, the Palm Springs Chamber Business Expo and Taste of Palm Springs, where we had a great booth. The water was very popular, and we ran out again, so that was a success. September 25th and 26th, I was in San Francisco for the Aqua Region 9, or not Region 9, Region 5 tour. That was an awesome day in San Francisco. The sun was out. It wasn't windy. There was no fog. And we had a great tour of a reservoir and the emergency fire system, and also their reclamation plant, which they're doing a massive upgrade to. So it was a great tour, and we learned a lot. And then on October 3rd, I also zoomed in on the Riverside Task Force, Riverside County Task Force meeting as well. So, and that's it.
Okay. Vice President Bowman.
Yes, on the 24th, the Agua Caliente Water Authority Board meeting. What was interesting, they had their public hearing for the groundwater production fee, and they settled upon $89 per acre foot. They had a potential of 87 through 135, their studies showed, but they chose 89. On the 25th, 26th, also, I was in San Francisco for an amazing presentation on their infrastructure, as Director Bloomer said. It's massive. We went to their southeast treatment facility for wastewater. They have two huge wastewater treatment plants. This one was off the chart. I think the number was 200 million gallons of sewage treated. It was some amazing amount, huge. And I was thinking, of the ones we know in our area, they're just little dots compared to this massive. Anyway, it was wonderful, a great tour. And then executive committee on October 2nd.
Okay. Director McKenna feels he may have left out a meeting.
An addendum, I forgot to include the Taste of Palm Springs Chamber of Commerce event. Really, really good event. I brought 3 friends.
Okay.
It's that
Did
good.
you make friends while you were there too?
Not new ones, no.
Okay. All right. I too attended Taste of Palm Springs on September 17th. I agree with Director Bloomer. The water was really good. All the flavored waters, I really enjoyed those and encouraged others to partake, and that's probably why we ran out. On September 26th, also attended the Aqua Region 5 meeting and tour with the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission, starting at their offices in the Civic Center, where we boarded a bus and we basically got a sightseeing tour along the way of what turned out to be an amazing San Francisco fall day. As Director Bloomer mentioned, the sun was out, there was no wind, there was no fog. It was about 72 degrees, and we had some amazing views as we were winding our way up to the first set of reservoirs, where we had a presentation from the fire department regarding their dual firefighting system, and which, having lived in San Francisco for a very long time, had no idea that was even a thing. But a separate system that came about in 1913 after the earthquake that provides high volume, high pressure firefighting. So separate hydrant system identified in a very different way. We also learned about all the cisterns throughout the city, which again, I've walked over 1 million times because they're identified by red brick circles and a cistern system that they have never actually had to use, but again, intended for firefighting. Then we visited the, was it pumping station number 2? Pumping station number 2 is in the Fort Mason Aquatic Park area, built on bedrock and intended to pull seawater. There are 2 such stations that pull seawater out of the bay and used for firefighting, again, in case that needs to happen. And that particular pumping station is going through a major upgrade. But what was fun is that we also got to see all the old stuff that they had preserved, not using, but preserved, the old boilers and some of the pumps and mechanics that seem very quaint and out of date today, but they're still, some of them were actually still being used. And then we did travel along the Embarcadero, where we learned about, which is a very long trip, from the Embarcadero to Bayview Hunters Point, where the treatment plant is located that Director or Vice President Bowman mentioned, and learned about their climate change, sea level rise mitigation plans for different parts of the Embarcadero. Very, very thorough and very intense. The thing I think that really impressed me at the end of the day, though, as we were at the wastewater treatment plant, they're building an addition to the treatment plant that will allow them to process all the biosolids into Class A product, which means it can be sold commonly as fertilizer, as well as remove the biogases from the system and put it directly into the PG&E pipeline system for natural gas, which is also very impressive. But the big thing that I walked away with is right now they have infrastructure projects of over $10 billion for a city of 750,000 people. I mean, granted, it's not just any city, but I thought over $10 billion of infrastructure projects kind of blew me away. Like, how do you even keep track of all that? But so that was a great day. And then I also attended on the 3rd of October, the Aqua Executive Committee, shall we call it, Executive Committee elect. So for those, for the 10 regions, now that the elections have been finalized and certified by Aqua, and I do want to thank this agency and my fellow directors for your support. So I will, starting in January, represent Region 9 as the vice chair of the Region 9 Aqua, the regional board for Aqua. And so we had our first sort of meeting on Friday the 3rd to talk about our responsibilities and roles as the executive committees for the various regions, to go over committee assignments. So that will be my responsibility, along with the newly elected chair, Joe Grindstaff, who I believe is Eastern Municipal Water District on the board there. And we will be meeting shortly to start going through those committee assignment requests from members of the Region 9 area. So that, looking forward to getting more involved in that come January 1st. And with that, I don't have any other meetings to report, so we can move to directors' comments and requests, and we'll start with Director Gracia.
Just to expand a little bit on my request to adjust the policy on requiring 3 directors to get an agenda item on. There are things that fall outside of the public view that board members may need to address privately to protect the interests of employees. And it's our responsibility, our first and number one responsibility, to be able to have an open dialogue. Not saying that this is a situation today or even in the foreseeable future, but to be able to dialogue with directors about information that needs to be kept confidential to protect an employee, or you can pick on me all you want, but if it ever comes down to picking on a public employee, it's a whole different set of worms, I guess. And the way it is now, we would be forced to do it at this meeting, and that would violate the rights of our general manager should the day come when that needs to be discussed. It needs to be discussed in private. And there can and should be no trail, public trail, that would be recognized by anybody to protect their personnel rights. They're absolute, handed down by the court. If you violate them, it can cost you millions of dollars. So that's one of the reasons that I think it's important for us to consider that. In fact, the reason why I think we should make sure that we're not put in a position of jeopardizing our freedom to carry out our duty as elected officials. So there.
Okay, cryptic, but okay. Director McKenna.
On my own dime, I took some time to watch the Coachella Valley Water District meeting where the Sky Valley issue was discussed. And it seemed to me that this emerged from City of Desert Hot Springs trying to develop the area north of the freeway. And I kind of wonder aloud here why they didn't just talk to us in Mission Springs and Coachella Valley to try and resolve that infrastructure issue that exists in that area. It's going to have to be resolved somehow. And yet we weren't party to that discussion, and we should have been. So I think my message is to City of Desert Hot Springs, you want to develop that area, you need infrastructure, you should talk to the people who provide the infrastructure. That's it.
Thank you. Secretary Treasurer Bloomer.
No comments or questions.
Okay, Vice President Bowman.
None from me.
All right. And none from me. So with that, we can.
Can we ask that be added to an agenda, what he just talked about? Because it's extremely important. And it would be covered, I think, hopefully under, I believe one of your staff takes care of our salt loading, our salt nutrient management plan. I think it all falls back on that. There are areas of this valley that are so loaded with salts that they can't absorb. There's no headroom left for them to absorb more sewage.
What are you asking for exactly?
Well, I believe Director McKenna just asked about the situation going on in Desert Hot Springs.
I think he made a comment about it. I don't think he asked for anything.
Director Ortega, I think
Yes.
we can respond quickly, briefly, if
Yes,
that's
please.
That's what desire.
This is something, I mean, we could provide an update at a future meeting, giving detail to the information that we do know, that with regards to the salt nutrient management plan, its status, and what its intended purposes are. We are, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you.
I get it.
Okay, we're going to move on. Thank you. It's now time to go into closed session. If we could be in the conference room at 9:45. Thank you. I can state that we had no reportable action taken during closed session. And with that, we can close this meeting for today. Thank you very much for everybody's help and support.